Assalamu alaikum. So, I have taken this opportunity to step out of the house, go for a walk, and realistically give you my thoughts on this Mufti Menk business. Because realistically, I need time to basically travel, get my mind into order, and basically get some cardio in at the same time. So let me be frank about this. There are three ways of looking at this Mufti Menk business. The first way, and this is rather important, is he didn't know he was a zionest. Now that may be naive, but we always must approach much of what we do with the benefit of the doubt. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I mean, we've got to give Mufti Menk the benefit of the doubt, relatively speaking. But we can assume at some point he knew, and that he could have come out with an apology. So then comes to my hypothesis number two. Now this is important for you to mention, because benefit of the doubt and good nature towards our brothers and sisters is much of who we are. So my point two is this, that the Mufti does not live in a democracy. Many of you Western raised young Muslims need to hold the comprehensible point of view that Mufti Menk is not as free to openly express himself to the same levels that you and I are. Now, how did this man reach the publicity that he is at today? Yeah? There are hidden gears and moves and levers that involve much of what he is doing right now. There are people in the background, people who are holding mics, sorting out flights, cars, drives. He's a famous man, but he got there by a network of people that were around him. And all of this network require protecting. So let's take a very old age British kind of approach to this. Let's say what is known as the British Empire's whispering technique. See, the British Empire ruled by much of the fear of its gunboat diplomacy, by its ability to whisper into things like African kings or Asian kings' ears about the damage that the British Empire could do if certain things weren't done in their way. So if, let's say, the Middle Eastern dictatorships and the various principalities emulate anything of the British Empire that used to rule a great deal of that area and still holds enormous level of influence over that area even to this day, it wouldn't take much to realise a man who is married with a wife and children and blood and family can hold an enormous allure of behaviour. You and I, who are living in the West, have more freedom in some regard than our brother Mufti Menk does. There is also option three, that he sold out. Option three, he sold out. And he's doing this purely for the checks. Now, I have always held the belief that we should assume the best from all of our brothers and sisters until they prove you otherwise. So until we are proven otherwise that Mufti Menk hasn't done ill and hasn't done this for just a check and to shake hands with Zionists, you must realise that he has done this probably on a benignable level. Now, I'm not saying I'm defending what he's done. I'm not necessarily doing that. What I am saying is we must always approach many of these problems, especially when celebratists like this, in all essence, have fucked up, because that's what he's done. You have to perceive this at the level of what it is. People are not perfect, okay? Neither muftis, nor me, nor anybody's perfect. And you should not take your deen from people who are, well, people in general take your deen from the Quran and the Sunnah in its absolute expectations. But I cannot stress to any of you enough that option three is this, that he may have sold out. And if he has sold out, you must take that on what it is. Now, at no point am I defending Mufti Menk or attacking him. I am saying that we must look at it as Muslims with the best intent at heart. Because it's easy to jump to conclusions that he sat down with a Zionist, he's betrayed the Palestinians. There's another way to look at it, that maybe he's down there for any number of reasons. Maybe he didn't know, maybe he did know. There are a great deal of issues in this Mufti Menk stuff that we don't know. There is also the prospects that we have freedoms as Western Muslims that he doesn't. You got to realise that, because we know what happens to sheikhs and imams who speak out against governments. The Saudis are no No illusions about banging people up who fuck around with them. They have, and I'm sorry to swear in Ramadan, but it is a perfect example of fuck around and find out. Because in those parts of the countries, those autocratic governments will not mess around. And if you think Mufti Menk is too big to be banged up in prison, have you ever seen how popular some of the really popular Muslim leaders and imams who have been thrown in jail with the key thrown away? You need to be perceptive of this. You need to realise he's a man who's got supports and personnels that he needs to protect. Did he sit down with the Zionist out of choice or under great reluctance? Those are questions we need to ask. And it is never going to be easy to answer because his